Toto Wolff is insisting that he already talked to the FIA and they said it's okay. So I don't see what the problem is. Audi is making some excuse about how, since they were new, they needed clarity for the rules. But my argument is the rules are clear. They say the ratio should be such and such when it's under testing, when it's cold. That's clear. There's no ambiguity there. It doesn't say anything about testing when the car's warm up. Audi has no argument. The rules are clear. The rules are what they say. If they don't say that the compression applies to when you're at speed and the engine's warmed up, then they don't say it. That's clear.
So here's where the controversy comes on. So Ayu Komatsu, who's the highest team principal, I should say, he recently did an interview about this compression ratio. And the interview asked us, hey, what do you feel about having Ferrari power units who don't have this compression ratio? Will it be affected for you? And one interesting point he said is that many people are focusing on the compression ratio being a bullet, one single bullet which can change everything. It does not. It is a distraction. Yes, it is good. It's only good if everything else is optimized. Is chassis to engine ratio optimized? Your air package is optimized? Is your deployment management optimized? What he said is that, for example, if you take a car, this after Barcelona testing, by the way. So Esteban, on the earlier laps, he was going on deploying it wherever he could. And one lap he was slow by 5 seconds, other lap he was only faster by 2 seconds. And this is the problem with energy management system, is that how you optimize it on the lap can make a much more drastic difference on the lap times than a simple compression ratio. Because what he said was, as far as he understands it, it can affect very differently. If it's a cold track, right? If it's a cold track, then its advantage will be much more higher. But if it's a hot track to begin with, the advantage of the engine will be much lowered. So it is very weather specific as well. And not only just the compression inside the engine, but the outside weather as well. So one secret thing that Mercedes holds, that they have a lot of data of deployment of the ERS than anyone else. They have been refining it since 3 years. Since they started manufacturing those engines, started developing these engines. They have been refining that data more and more and more, how to deploy. I saw Kimi Antonelli and Russell use ERS only on the straights and some on the corners. They were very optimized on their run plan and everything. That, to me, is more fearful than whatever engine trick they might have. A team which can already deploy electric power on tracks wherever they think it's optimizable is much more dangerous than whatever a trick they might have. So that is what I think it is. And that is what Toto Wolff is trying to desperately hide, is the fact that his team has figured out the electrical deployment on the track speciality before anyone else. And mind you, this is team specific, not as engine manufacturer specific. So not McLaren, not Williams, not Alpine can have the same optimized ERS plan. Only Mercedes has this. And this can mean a lot of lap times. So even for, let's take a qualifying example, right? Ferrari might be the quickest of overall, but Mercedes has such optimized settings.
The thing, this is very simple. There's still nothing that Mercedes is hiding. For what you're saying, what Komatsu said was that deployment is more important. So if Mercedes has better deployment, they're going to be able to take more advantage of that, right?
Long story short, but that's another thing you missed. They have got a track-specific optimization before any other team.
Hiding anything. They don't have to. My thing is that they're just ahead of the game. That's all. And there's no controversy as far as I can see. No rules have been broken. And I think it's straightforward that deployment is important. So I don't see what the big thing that they're hiding. It's not like they're hiding something that they did with their car. Yeah.
That, but it's not simply turning on and turning off the electrical power when it comes to track-specific optimization. It is about how is it optimized. For example, I can include some more radiators than the permitted legal limit just for cooling the PC even more when it comes to a track. If I take Barcelona, for example, again, cooling was much more moderately high over here because the track's temperature can change very drastically. It can get very hot to very cold as well, like we saw in the testing. So what I'm trying to say is, what Toto Wolff is trying to do is try to hide the Mercedes' real advantage and mask it with the compression ratio. He doesn't want his people's eyes on the main advantage that Mercedes holds. The main advantage is that they're able to create an engine which can push really well in an optimized way and doesn't run out of power immediately.
Yeah, well, that's deployment.
That advantage is much more higher.
Isn't that simple? Isn't that simply just deployment?
No, it's not as simple as turning it on and turning it off. It's not that simple.
Deployment, that's part of deployment, because deployment is not only a matter of turning off, but it's activating everything between the ICE and the electrical part and having everything in unison. So deployment itself is being able to have that whole thing. I'm not an engineer, but the idea is to have everything firing in unison and everything at the same time working perfectly balanced. I mean, I'm giving a dumb way of saying it, but isn't that basically what we're saying?
Kind of, half true. But other half of it, what I'm trying to tell you is the way they're doing it is fishy than any other team has been doing.
Maybe I don't see why anybody would jump to that conclusion, because why didn't they jump to that before the ICE? If they know that Mercedes has the best deployment, why weren't they asking those questions before? You know, it's the same.
Because it is available in traditional ways. What they did was available through traditional ways. What Mercedes compression ratio is very different from what people expected, because out of every engine manufacturer, only Mercedes was able to know what it meant, like think outside the box, and Red Bull only knew about the compression ratio trick because they hired people from Mercedes.
Yeah, so that just means Mercedes was ahead of the loop when it comes to research. That's all. Same thing with McLaren. We still don't know how they were able to cool their tires. Everybody thought that, and they might have been cheating. So it's the same thing with Mercedes. They have a jump on power unit technology that other teams don't. That's basically it, right? And they might be doing some things which may be controversy, but then it's up for the other teams to figure it out. Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to say. They're trying to hide it, though. Everyone, if you talk about Mercedes, the engine compression trick is the one thing people are saying, but they forget the fundamental. If you get the track-specific optimization done, if it's quali or even the race, you have bigger advantage than any other team. Because, for example,
they might be hiding it.
Engine, right?
I wouldn't say that they're hiding it. I would say that the other teams are focused on the wrong thing. You see what I'm saying? Exactly. Maybe they don't have to hide it. It's just that the other teams are focused on that, but they're not thinking about other issues. And maybe the guy from Haas is now beginning to realize that.